Ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, it's time for another console versus PC debate. Let's find out if the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X can compete with a $500 PC. Spoiler alert, it won't.
Hey PCWorld fans, Adam here to talk about my upcoming PC build. With the PS5 and Xbox Series X right around the corner, I got to thinking, what's the best PC I would want to build right now for $500?
You serious?
What is going on, my beautiful stud muffins? We are gathered here again today to witness another 300 IQ individual. He goes by the name of PCWorld. Naturally, with a name like that, you can already see the direction this video goes. Let us witness the knowledge PCWorld is about to bestow upon us mortals.
Now let's start off with the obvious. This is not a one-to-one comparison. Obviously, on paper, the specs in the new consoles are way beefier than you can get in a $500 PC.
No shit.
At some point, if you're just gaming and doing nothing else, then yeah, it probably makes more sense to buy a $500 console than a $500 PC.
So far so good, guys. I still have 100% of my brain cells still intact. Though I do have a sneaking feeling that soon
But as
I
us
won't.
PC enthusiasts already know, there's so much more you can do on a PC. Gordon from The Full Nerd always likes to talk about how you can do your taxes on a PC, you can't do your taxes on a console.
Looks like I spoke too soon. I can now feel my IQ slowly being lowered. But in all seriousness, who buys a PC thinking, hey, I can do my taxes on this? You know where else you can do your taxes?
I am a video editor, so you can obviously edit on a PC. You can't edit videos on a console.
Go ahead and try to edit anything complex on a $500 PC. It won't work out too well.
You don't have to pay for multiplayer, and PC games are generally cheaper than what you can get on console.
If you buy games on disc from sites like eBay or even Amazon, console games can be just as cheap as PC games. Also, PlayStation Store had a Christmas sale, and on the sale was Watch Dogs Legion. It was $30 on PlayStation Store and $40 on Epic
Let's not
Games.
forget there's a whole host of streaming services that you can plug into in any browser on the PC, and those aren't necessarily available on the consoles. But really the last major reason is upgradability. Even though consoles are coming closer and closer to just being a PC, there's some things you still can't do, like upgrade the CPU, upgrade the GPU. When a new version of a console comes out, you have to buy a whole new box.
I have to buy a whole new box 7 years since the last box I bought. With a PC, you upgrade that fat boy every year or two just to stay relevant, which drives the cost up significantly more than console.
It's a PC, I can swap out parts later to get more power and to extend the lifespan of that PC, which is awesome.
Until you check your wallet and realize you don't have one. Because you're so broke you had to sell that as well.
When it comes to pure gaming, the specs on the new consoles look to be far and away superior to anything that I could build for $500. But I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't plan on getting either of the new consoles. I'm a PC guy. I would rather take that $500 and build the best PC I can, and that's what I'm gonna do. Which brings me to my upcoming PC build. I'm gonna go live on Wednesday, October 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific. Be sure to subscribe and get notifications of this upcoming build and plenty more.
We all know that's not
preparation of this
happening.
build, I had an awesome discussion on the Full Nerd Discord. There's a link to it in the description of this video. I hopped in there and asked the fine folks what they would do with $500 to build a PC, and I got some really good feedback. So obviously with $500, you're pretty limited, and a lot of people were like, hey, you should go used, but you know what? You can't always replicate those used prices, so if I'm gonna try to recommend a $500 build, it's a lot easier to just go with new parts than with used parts. But if you can find a really good deal on used parts, then yeah, you're definitely gonna probably get more than what I got here.
Actually, the used market gets you much better deals on PC parts than anything you can get you.
Recommendations on buying an old Optiplex and putting in a new GPU to get a gaming rig out of that. And yes, around this price point, up to probably around $700, you're probably gonna get the most bang for your buck out of a pre-built system.
Pre-built systems are a joke.
Part of the fun of being a PC owner is building the system yourself, and yes, there's probably going to be some awesome parts that come out by the end of the year, but I wanted to go with $500 right now. And specifically, I waited till Prime Day to really get the most bang for my buck out of this $500 PC build.
Prime Day deals are a joke as well.
Give a special shout out to Ziv over on the Full Nerd Discord. Not only is he an awesome person to chat with, he really is the one that helped me parse out these parts. So I feel like not only is it my build, it's really his build as well. So here is a list of the parts. I will leave a link to the PC part picker list in the description, and I don't have all the parts in yet, but they will be here by the time that I build the PC. So first thing to get out of the way is 16 gigabytes of RAM. I don't feel like you can get away with less than 16 gig on a Windows machine, so that's why I went with that.
This makes two things that I actually agree with. Anything less than 16 gigabits in 2020 is unacceptable.
2 is where I'm going to be loading the OS and having most of the footage that I do video editing on, and then I also wanted a second large hard drive to store games and all the video files that I'm not editing on. The power supply, I wanted to make sure I got an 80 plus bronze at least, and I went with the Corsair model because they are a name brand that I trust. So for the case, I went with the Cooler Master Masterbox Q300L, which is a little bit older, but honestly I like the look of the case. I think it's pretty stylish, and even though I might be giving up a little bit of airflow, we did add a couple extra fans in there to help with that, and I'm not going to really be pushing the system that far. I usually don't like to overclock my systems too hard. So now let's get to the meat of the build. It's all based around an AMD Ryzen 5 3400G. It's a 4-core, 8-thread CPU that has Vega 11 graphics in it.
So this absolute brainlet thinks a 4-core 8-thread CPU can compete with their AMD Zen 2 processor, the same as you'll find in the Ryzen 7 3700X, which is leagues above this garbage
Originally,
CPU.
I defaulted to an Intel-based system, a Core i3 9100F, paired with a Radeon RX 570, which would have really helped me on the gaming side short term, but we decided to go with AMD instead for a couple of reasons, and one of them was for long-term upgradability. So even though we don't have the nicest motherboard in there, it is AM4 socket based, meaning that with a simple BIOS update in the future, I could drop in a bigger chip and then pair that with a dedicated GPU to get more longevity out of this device. And once again, that's the great thing about the PC, is that you can upgrade it in the future. You can't do that with a console.
Yes, put in trash components now, then waste more money in the future. I like where this guy's brain is at.
I went with AMD over Intel is because I've only really built Intel-based systems. That's just what I've done for my workflow and my needs at the time. So I really do want to try out this AMD side of things. There really is a lot of buzz around AMD right now, and I want to get in on this and try it out for myself.
Did you guys catch the most important part of the video? He used a shitty ass APU to compete with the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 GPU, which is arguably equivalent to a 2080 Super. XDDDDD.
I will reiterate that pound for pound on the gaming side, yeah, $500, the consoles are gonna smoke what this is capable of. But it's a PC, you can do so much more on it, which is why I think it's still a viable option at $500 versus a console, and something that you should think about as well.
I would be surprised if this system was powerful enough to scratch my balls. No, this isn't viable at all, especially in 2020.
Tune in and join me on this PC build. It's always a fun time. We hang out, we drink beer, we talk about food. It's really laid back and relaxed. I'm gonna have some fun. I think you're gonna have some fun. And be sure to subscribe for more PC related content here on PCWorld.
I should have taken mind-numbing medication before this viewing experience. Honestly, of all PC builds this guy did, he picked the worst price to performance option out there. He could have at least gone with a 1650 Super. That bad boy could game at 1080p for another year at least. Anyways, that does it for the video. Like and subscribe. Cheers.